So what should you do if you drop your gun or it falls out of your holster in public? We'll talk about that in just a minute, but first let me tell you we have a gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now. It's absolutely free and it ends really soon. All you need to do is click the link in the description down below to learn which brand new gun you could win. Okay, so you've seen the videos, judges dropping guns, DEA agents dropping guns, FBI agents dropping guns. It always shows up on video somewhere like, hey, this bonehead dropped the gun. What next? So there are some real legitimate concerns about dropping your gun in public. First of all, you're exposing your gun. Your gun is not under your control. Lots of different things can happen, and there can be legal aftermath, or certainly, what happens if you drop your gun and you don't notice immediately and someone else grabs it and runs off with it? We've seen that happen in places where people are open carrying. Someone just snatches a gun out of their holster and takes off. So let's first talk about the base level of weapon retention. You want to have a well-made, good-fitting holster that keeps your gun securely in place. If that means it has a snap over the top or something like that, so be it. Get that so you keep your gun securely in place. I like to utilize inside the waistband holsters that are made specifically for the firearm I'm carrying, because not only does the gun fit in there perfectly, the trigger is covered, and that's very important, but then also the belt gives a little bit of extra retention and holds that in there. It holds the gun in place. So we want to first make sure that the gun doesn't fall out of the holster. And if you're going to be doing something really active, if you're moving around a lot or your job requires you to crawl around under houses or whatever it is that you're going to be doing, then you want to increase that level of retention and maybe make sure that you have a strap or some other passive retention measure. There's some very interesting holsters out there by Uncle Mike's that you have to twist the gun in order to get it out. It clicks in. You can actually hear it click in there, and you have to twist it to get it out. So first, retain the gun. I'm always going to tell you to first avoid the problem. Make sure your gun is in position in its holster, whether it's appendix carry, 4 o'clock carry, shoulder holster, whatever. Make sure the gun is secured. Now, if the gun is not secured, if the gun falls out of the holster or hits the floor and goes clattering across the room, whatever happens, I can imagine the worst case scenario is you're walking along, the gun drops and you kick it while you're walking, and then it's 20 or 30 feet away on some tile floor in a courtroom where you're not supposed to have it. Boy, you're going to be in trouble. If you drop your gun, understand very first thing, that gun is no longer concealed. Everybody can see it, so you're going to have to deal with that immediately, and you're going to have to deal with that safely. Notice I'm not talking a whole lot about the gun going off when you drop it. Almost all firearms, modern firearms that are in good working order, are drop safe. You're not going to have to worry about that gun discharging when you drop it. There are some, and yes, we're going to get notes about the brand names out there. I'm not going to talk about it, but just make sure, again, that we avoid this problem without dropping the gun. But if you do drop your gun, I want you to, it's going to sound very silly, but the base level here, pick it up. Get to that gun right away and get control of it safely. Now, we all saw the video of the FBI agent or whoever he was doing the backflip on the dance floor. The gun came out, he grabbed it and fired it. The gun didn't go off. He grabbed it and fired it because he didn't pick up the firearm safely. He hit the trigger, pulled the trigger, and the gun discharged. So if you drop your gun, make sure that you pick it up quickly and safely. Keep your finger off the trigger. Maintain trigger finger discipline even as you pick that gun up off the ground. And then get that returned safely to your holster as quickly as you can. While you're doing this, and immediately after you're doing this, you're going to want to be looking around to see who saw what happened. Drawing your gun in some states without needing to is brandishing, and you could be in trouble for that. Specifically, Massachusetts has some very strict laws about stuff like this. If somebody sees your gun in Massachusetts, you can be in trouble for that. So you're going to have to understand the laws of your state and understand what you should do about that. I'm not going to suggest that you immediately call 911 on yourself, but I'm going to suggest that you immediately prepare for whatever aftermath is coming your way. Worst case scenario is that what you did is a crime in the jurisdiction in which you did it, and you had better be ready to explain that when the law enforcement officers show up, if someone saw it and calls them. So there could be legal trouble for this for you. Further on down the spectrum, somebody who is really anti-gun sees it and starts yelling at you. I don't want you to engage in the argument. Apologize because you made a mistake. Apologize. Yep, I'm sorry. I'll leave, and just get out of there. Don't engage in the argument. Don't let your ego get the better of you and start yelling at someone who is yelling at you because you made a mistake. Remember, this is your mistake. You're responsible for that gun, and quite frankly, you dropped it. So you want to minimize the damage. You want to minimize the interaction that you're going to have after this gun falls out of the holster. And honestly, that is a quick, sincere apology. I'm very sorry. I'm going to be leaving now. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for pointing it out. Whatever it takes to disengage you from that situation, your gun is back safely where it belongs, and you're leaving that area. Again, if what you have done could be considered a crime in that jurisdiction, be prepared to deal with law enforcement if they show up. If someone calls them and they show up, you're going to have to explain what happened, and you might be subject to a fine or worse because you brandished or displayed your firearm. Again, this is about personal responsibility. It starts with avoidance. You want to make sure that you don't have the problem, and then you need to, if you have the problem, quickly mitigate that problem, which is get the gun up off the ground safely without discharging it, and back in the holster safely without discharging it, and then honestly leave the area, let things settle down, because people who have seen it might, and rightfully be, a little bit nervous about your gun handling skills. You're pulled over by the police and you're carrying concealed. Do you need to do anything special in this scenario? Like tell the officer you have a gun. Click this video right next to me and I'll break down that scenario step by step on what you should do.